Hello, good day everyone. So today we will be analyzing the problem which I call bullish and bearish in preparation for your coding interview. So after this, you should be able to understand the solution used and what are the advantages of these solutions. So we'll have problem description, problem analysis, also a brute force solution. So you will see first that brute force before we go to the efficient solution one. So make sure to subscribe and let's get started. So for the problem description, bullish, bearish, we are given a non-empty array of integers where each index of the array corresponds to the value of a stock price on a given day. Identify the maximum profit that can be earned. So we have to consider that you can only buy and sell once. So here is an example of a non-empty array of integers. So if we analyze this, the example is that we buy on day 2, we can sell on day 3, and then our profit is 6 because day 2 has the value of 2 and day 3 has a value of 8, so 8 minus 2 is 6. Okay, now buy on day 2, and what if we sell it on day 5? So this is day 5, so the profit is 1 because 3 minus 2 is equal to 1. Okay, lastly, if we buy on day 4, which is this, and if we sell on day 5, we would have a profit of 2 because 3 minus 1 is equal to 2. So let's analyze first the problem before actually do the coding. So the problem says we are given a non-empty array of integers, so we are quite sure that it is not empty. And then each index, so per index, is the value of a stock price on a given day. Okay, so we have to identify the maximum profit that can be earned. So this is quite straightforward as well. And then we have to make sure that we'll only buy once and we will only sell once. Okay, let's do a brute force solution. So what would be our approach if this is brute force? So this is our problem. And let's see. Our example is 52813. We would have two cursors, the left cursor and the right cursor, or we can call them the slow and fast cursors. So, and then we would have to return the value max profit. We would also need to have a variable current profit. So this is something that we would be comparing to the max profit and see if the current profit is equal to the max profit. If it is, then we will consider that as the max profit for that iteration. So having these two cursors, 5 and 2, the current profit would be negative 3 because 2 minus 5 is negative 3. So if you buy at day 5 and sell at day 2, you will lose 3. Okay. Now, if we check 5 and 8, the profit would be 3 because 8 minus 5 is 3. And then we can consider that as our max profit because it has a higher value than our current max profit, which is 0. So we change that. And then we go to the next one, negative 4. And then to the last one, which is 3. Now that we have reached the end of the array, we will increment in the slow cursor. So we can start at index 2. And then when we subtract the value 8 minus 2, we get the current profit equal to 6. Is current profit greater than the max profit? Yes, so we change the max profit to 6. And then move the cursor again, the fast cursor, and then move it again. So do you see the pattern? We are incrementing, we are checking each value of the array after the slow cursor. So we are comparing each index to every other index. Okay. Until we reach the last scenario. So 1 and 3, if we buy at If we buy at day 4 and sell at day 5, then we get a profit of 2. But still, the max profit is 6. Okay, so how are we going to implement this using the brute force code implementation? Okay, so here is our example. Let's put those aside and then start with a method. So we'll have a method public int solution with a parameter of integer array, which will have, and then we would have to declare the max profit variable. Okay, so our max profit is initialized to 0, and then we have to return the max profit. Now, as mentioned, we have to do a loop. We have to iterate through each value of the array. So we will call that this would be our slow cursor, and then there would be a fast cursor as well. And then we will check the profit by comparing the slow cursor with the fast cursor. What is the profit that we will get by doing this? And then we will check whether max profit is greater than the profit that we currently have using the cursors. So if profit is greater than the max profit, then we will assign the profit to max profit. The time complexity for this is O(n) squared, because each time we check a value of the array, we are comparing it to the others. So we have a loop within the loop. So this is the first sign that the time complexity is O(n) squared if there is a loop within a loop. Okay, let's simulate this one. So we start by declaring the max profit, which is 0, and then declare our slow cursor, and then our fast cursor, which would start at the index right after the first cursor, the slow cursor. And then we declare the variable profit, which would have the value of -3 in this case, and then compare it with the max profit. And then we can see here how we are iterating through the array. Once we reach that, we will be incrementing the slow cursor, and then here we can find the profit is 6, which is greater than the max profit, so we apply it there. As you can see, we are iterating through the array each time, and then compare the current profit to the max profit. Alright, so now that we are at the last combination or last scenario, we'll be returning the max profit. So the max profit in this case is 6. Alright, so is there a way for us to improve this solution? Yes, there is. So we have a linear complexity solution. So how are we going to do that? Let's go back to the problem once again. So here is our example. We will be using the same example, but this time we will only use one cursor and iterate through the entire array only once. So we would still have the max profit variable, which will hold the value that we will be returning to the that will be returned by this method. And then we would have this variable lowest value, which we will initialize the integer that max value. And then the current value, which is 5. The current value is the value that is being pointed by the cursor there, as you can see. And then the profit, which is 0. So this profit is similar to the one earlier. We will compare to the max profit. If it's greater than, then we will consider that as the max profit. So what will happen is that lowest value will be changed if the current value is lower than the lowest value. So in this case, it will become 5. Okay, now we go to the second index. Actually, if we look back at it, profit is calculated by subtracting the current value by the lowest value. So 5 minus 5 is still 0. So profit is 0. And since profit is equal to max profit, you won't be changing the max profit. So it's written at 0. So later on, as we go through the array, it will be more clear. So let's move to the second value, which is 2. The current value is 2. Is it lower than the lowest value? Yes. So let's assign it to the lowest value. And then subtract again, current value minus lowest value to get the profit. Since they are the same, profit is 0, max profit is also 0. Okay, now let's move to the third value. The value is 8. So as mentioned earlier, to solve for the profit, we need to subtract current value minus the lowest value. So in this case, it would be 6. And then since profit is greater than the max profit, we can assign 6 to max profit. Alright, let's move to the next one. Current value is 1. Lowest value is 2. So lowest value is not the lowest anymore, so I change that to 1 as well. 1 minus 1 is 0, so profit is 0, and it's less than the max profit, so max profit can still be considered as 6. And last value is 3. Current value is now 3. So current value minus lowest value is 2, so the profit is 2. But the max profit is still greater, so now we can consider that max profit is 6 since it is the last value in the array. I mean, we have already checked the last value in the array. So how are we going to implement this in codes? So, okay, let's put them aside and then display our method. Public int solution, same as the one earlier, we would have a parameter values. It's an integer array. Okay, max profit, we declare the max profit equal to 0 and then return the max profit. As mentioned, we would need to initialize lowest value with integer.max value. So the idea of having this is that integer.max value would be the max value we can assign to any integer. So it would be easy for us to know if the current value is lower than the lowest value since it already holds the max value. Okay, now we will be iterating through the array only once, so we will only have one for loop. And then we will assign the value at the index I on the current value. So this is the one we will compare to the lowest value, if you remember earlier. And then lowest value, so as mentioned earlier, we will also be checking which one is lower and then assign it to lowest value. To compute for the profit, it's the same, current value minus lowest value. And then if profit is higher than the max profit, then we assign it to max profit. Otherwise, max profit will still hold the value max profit. And then we return the max profit. Time complexity for this, it is O of n, since we are only iterating through the array once. So let's simulate this one, so that we can easily visualize why we have implemented it this way. Alright, so let's start. Int max profit is equal to 0, so let's initialize that one. Max profit is equal to 0. Then lowest value would have the max value for an integer, which is this. Now, let's start iterating through the array. So we declare a cursor that will start on index 0 and then go through the entire array. So the current value would be equal to the values I. So current value is 5. And then lowest value would be changed since 5 is lower than the current value of lowest value. That's kind of confusing. Anyway, and then that would be 5. Now, we will declare int profit, which is equal to current value minus the lowest value, and then compare it with the max profit. Now, let's iterate through the entire array. Now we're checking 2, current value is 2, Lowest value is 2, so profit would be 0, max profit is still 0. Third value, 8. Lowest value is 2, profit would be 8 minus 2 is 6, so now max profit is 6. Alright, next value is 1. Current value would be 1, the lowest value would now be 1, and then INT profit is equal to 0, and then max profit would still be 6. Now on to the last value of the array, so it's 3, lowest value would now be equal to, would still be equal to 1, profit is 2, max profit is still 6. Now we return that value. So as you can see here we have only traversed the array once, so it's better to the initial solution that we have, the brute force solution. And now actually that's it. The time complexity for this is O of n, which is a lot better than O of n squared. So do you have any questions? Just comment it down below. And if you have any coding problem that you want us to discuss, then comment it down below as well. Subscribe for more videos, and see you again next time. Bye.